Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. I'm Steve Sparky Pfeiffer from the Wendy's Big Show weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on AM 1250 and 105.7 FM The Fan. He, of course, Gary Wolfel of the Racine Journal-Times. Time to talk about Bucks basketball. Oh, it's been so long. I missed you so much, Bucks basketball. Training camp starts on Monday, thank God. Well, media day is Monday, then training camp starts. Okay, let's first start off.
Where do you want to start? I'm curious to see what your first topic's going to be.
I don't want to talk about the team.
There's so many good topics.
Well, I don't want to talk about the team. Okay. Let's just talk about the stadium getting done now officially. The City Common Council did their thing, right? That's done. The training facility is going to start being built by the end of the year. And now the argument about closing 4th Street up in Milwaukee or not, whatever.
But it's incredible how petty politicians can be.
It's stupid. Just close it.
It is.
Just close it. And if you want an example, Milwaukee politicians, if any of you are watching this, go to Louisville. It's called 4th Street Live, conveniently the same name. Go to Louisville, check out 4th Street Live. Their street is closed. They have bars and restaurants, and that place is packed every night.
Well, they don't even have to go that far. They can save, 40 miles and go to Indianapolis. And same thing, they got streets blocked off down there, down by, what is it
Conseco Fieldhouse?
Yeah, it used to be called Conseco Fieldhouse. But, I mean, Indianapolis, to me, is my favorite city in the Midwest.
I mean,
you can walk around downtown, it's safe, you got a ton of options for entertainment.
But I don't think
and Milwaukee should try to model that after them.
Right, and that's not apparently what's going on. Mm-hmm. Apparently, well, at least from what I've read and heard, Columbus, Ohio, is what they're looking at.
That hotbed of entertainment.
Yeah, but they redid their downtown and around their stadium. And if you go to, I think it's thedistrict.com or something like that, something along those lines. Yeah. It's called The District.
Right.
And see what they've done. That's amazing.
Well,
if Milwaukee could do similar to that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that in various cities. I mean, even going back to Cleveland years ago, they tried to have an entertainment area.
Sure.
But so that isn't anything new. I mean, the Bucks people are basically stealing things from other cities around the country.
As they should.
Yeah, I mean,
I would do the same thing.
Absolutely, and even like their arena, their whole complex, they're talking like they're coming up with these grandiose plans. They basically stole Sacramento's, which I told you about, on the radio last year. I mean, which is fine. I mean, if things work in other cities, steal them and
go. And I don't know what the inside's going to look like yet. We haven't really seen that. We haven't really seen anything. So I want to see what this is all going to play out. I told Peter Fagan, I said, hey, man, just so you know, I went to the Madison Square Garden last year. I want at least that.
Does that guy ever sleep?
I said, I want at least that good, Peter. And he started laughing. He's like, they put like $1 billion into Madison Square Garden.
Well, the one thing I'd like to see them do is like dim the lights.
I want that too. The Peter style.
Exactly. There's some special feeling when the lights are just on the court.
I've never talked to one person that doesn't like that.
Oh, I mean,
every fan I know loves that idea.
It's so special. I mean, they did that occasionally at the Milwaukee Arena when you walked in and everything was on the court.
Yeah.
That was it wasn't somebody walking up and down
the aisle. I try to think
who's
doing it. So the Lakers do it, the Nets and the Barclays do it at the Barclay, and then the Knicks. They're the only three, right? I don't think there's anybody else in basketball. I think it's just those three. So the Bucks should become number 4. All right. So congratulations to the Bucks getting the new arena. That's awesome. Let's not talk about this basketball team.
I thought we weren't talking about the team.
Well, we're not going to leave with the team. But let's talk a little bit about this basketball team. So I go to the store last night, and they have the NBA preview magazines.
Uh-oh. Lindy's?
So I pick. Lindy's was there.
Thank
yes.
you.
Lindy's was there. So I pick up one. I look. Yeah. Don't even have the Bucks making the playoffs. I put it back down. I pick up your publication, and they had the Bucks making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right, 45 wins or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that other publication that didn't have them in the playoffs in the East had them at 41 wins. So you're telling me a 41-win, 500 team isn't going to make the playoffs in the East. I'll believe that when I see it. Because I couldn't tell you the last time that happened in the Eastern Conference.
Well, as long as Philadelphia is in the mix, Yeah, the thing about the Eastern Conference, I mean, it has been absolutely god-awful for the last 5-6 years. I think the bad teams this year are actually going to be competitive, like in Orlando, which has been horrible for years.
They should take a step, yes.
Scott Skiles has a lot of talent. I mean, that's my sleeper team if you wanted to say, hey,
it's year one, so the young guys will buy into him.
Absolutely, but they're talented. They got 5 good players in each position. And it kind of like the Bucks last year. Nobody was looking at the Bucks. I could see Orlando being that sleeper team.
They get to
moving up. But even all the other teams have gotten – the Celtics are better. The Knicks are better.
I don't buy the Knicks.
They'll be okay. Carmelo's good, and they'll have Calderon. They'll be fine.
Carmelo's a black hole. Carmelo's the last person I want running my triangle offense. The last person.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody referred to or used that expression for one of the Bucks players to me the other day.
Probably.
Guess who?
Greg Monroe?
Very good.
Good. Fine. But I'm fine with that. Go ahead. Because this is the thing with Greg Monroe. If I drop the ball to him in the low block, I want him to go score. If he's up on the elbow, I want him to distribute, and if there's nobody to distribute to, take the jump shot.
Yeah.
I just think Greg Monroe is a huge deal to this Bucks offense in how many more points they're going to be able to score. I was reading an article the other day. If you take Jabari Parker and Greg Monroe, you're going to add about 40 points to this offense on top of what you already had on this team last year. That should put this team in a very good position. Then it's going to be how good do you play defensively.
Yeah, no, I mean...
and they were a good defensive team.
They're going to be intriguing, but again, I mean, we're going to be talking about them for the next 5-6 months. Yep. But the big thing for me is the surprise element is no longer there. Like when teams played the Bucks, when teams played the Bucks last year, it was like, hey, we're playing the Bucks, so what?
Right.
You know, and they got caught off guard. The Bucks won a lot of single-digit games. I guarantee you, teams will not be approaching the Bucks like they did, this past year.
Greg Monroe put them on the map for sure. If they weren't on the map before, when they got Greg Monroe, the whole country looked at Milwaukee and said, "Whoa, how did they get Greg Monroe?"
Yeah, that. I mean, we could talk a whole segment on the Monroe deal, but what kind of intrigues me is, yes, I'm a Monroe fan. Okay, I thought it was a fantastic.
Nobody thought they could get him.
I mean, I was told by everybody in the NBA. I mean, across the board, I would have loved to have been in that room when the Bucks negotiated that deal.
Right.
I don't know what the Bucks said or did to Greg Monroe, but nobody in the world thought he was.
Well, I think that what Monroe said is true. Monroe said he wanted the ability to go play in a playoff.
Well, that's
those other teams that were going after him weren't playoff.
Okay, that leads me to the other teams. Now, if Greg Monroe is this all-star caliber player, and I think he's a fringe all-star player,
yeah.
Why weren't more, quote, good playoff teams pursuing him?
Like who? Who got a big man that could have went after Greg Monroe that's a playoff team that didn't
Any
get him?
team would want a big guy.
Sure, but who has the salary cap room to go get him?
Oh, everybody did
who has
this
the
summer.
space to go
Everybody
get him?
could have made room for him this summer. But it came down to the Lakers
right.
and the Knicks,
right.
two of the worst teams in the league.
Yep.
And the only good team that was in the hunt with
the Bucks.
It was Portland.
And the Bucks, right.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm thinking like, okay, I know he wants to play for a playoff team, but he could have had other options, or those teams didn't want him.
Well, the Knicks and Lakers weren't even close to where the Bucks are right now.
Right. So, I mean, again, it's like either he is vastly overrated or a lot of teams missed the boat.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of teams missed the boat, and we'll see that because I think Jason Kidd, his coaching staff, will get a lot out of him. I think the big question mark for me is MCW. How good will MCW be this year? I mean, will he be able to knock down those jump shots to keep defenses honest? Because you give up, which was just a ridiculous amount to get him in draft picks, to get Grievous Vasquez. Vasquez is sitting right there. MCW, I think, has to play well to keep him down.
Absolutely. He's on.
He's got to play well.
He is on the clock right now.
Yes.
Because last year he could screw up and he wouldn't be accountable. That was their guy.
Yep.
They made a huge trade, giving up one of the best young point guards in the league for him. Now that comes back, if he doesn't improve his three-point shooting and his assist to turnover ratio, he's going to get a hook.
Right.
They're going to go with Vasquez.
I agree.
And Vasquez gives them an offensive weapon from the perimeter.
I'll tell you right now, I think he'll average probably, I'll say like 12 and 8.
And you know what?
I think that's what he'll do. And that'll be good enough.
I wouldn't really care what he averages. I'm not even looking at that. I want him to improve his three-point shot because the NBA is so perimeter-oriented
No
now.
question.
If he doesn't shoot a three-point shot, he is a detriment to the Bucks. That's one less guy they got to worry about.
Yeah, but this is the one thing about MCW. He can blow by people and get to the rim. And with his length, he can finish. He showed that.
That's fine.
They couldn't hold him.
And what did he average? 7 assists. Whoop-de-doo.
No, but you said you didn't care about numbers. You said it was all about the offense, or he's going to be a detriment to the team. I'm telling you, he's not.
No, from an offense,
he showed in the playoffs against the Bulls, they couldn't stay with him.
And they also said, hey, shoot. He had like one really good game. Let's be honest with you.
No, they couldn't stop him.
He wasn't anything special in the playoffs.
See, I think when you look at MCW, and maybe I'll be wrong, I think he's going to turn into a really good player for this team. We'll see if I'm wrong or not. I have faith in MCW. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. He is Gary Wolfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. from AM 1250 and 105.7 FM The Fan. We'll talk
How
to you
many
again
wins?
next week for the Bucks.
Yeah.
50.
Wow. We got to go.
Talk to you next week here on RaceSeatSportsZone.com.